Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are around the world, or good night. So welcome to this, to the already fifth panel discussion we have here at in Rome at CC, the Carrier Community Infrastructure Summit. So welcome to you all, and we're going to talk about a very important topic, and it's the cybersecurity, and actually at the forefront. We have a huge panel today, a huge amount of experts sitting here. I will quickly give them a quick minute to introduce themselves. And if I may start with, of course, with the ladies, gentlemen, with Antonella. Welcome.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Antonella Sanguinetti, and I'm honored to lead a product management team called the Secure Cloud and Connectivity Solutions. So we all have all components of this enterprise journey that Sparkle is in. I don't think that there is the need at the second day to explain who is Sparkle, but maybe I can say that, as Daniele mentioned yesterday, Sparkle is not only connectivity worldwide, but is also a service provider in the enterprise market.
Thank you so much and welcome. Maria.
Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Maria Spicciola. I am technical marketing manager at Telsi. Telsi is a company with a very long history in communication protection. We are an expert in the protection of communication, and since 3-4 years, we are also the provider of cybersecurity for Team Group.
Thank you so much and welcome. Yes, it's your turn.
Thank you, Eric. Alessandro Forcina, a partner of Cambridge Management Consulting. Cambridge Management Consulting is a British consulting firm, and we are present in 15 countries, more or less worldwide. And the focus of our activities on digital transformation, which is a very broad term. But let me say that the focus, the core expertise, our core expertise is on telecoms, being the roots of all of us is in the telecom, coming from all the major European and non-European service providers and vendors. Since I personally spent decades of my professional life in Sparkle, of course, I have a special thanks to Sparkle having sponsored this Carrier Community event, giving me the opportunity to meet tens of friends.
Thank you so much. And virtually, let's go over to Deutsche Telekom. Max, please.
Hello, thanks for having me. My name is Max. I'm working for Deutsche Telekom Global Carrier. I'm a product manager in the international wholesale department, and I mainly look after IT transit and DDoS defense solutions. So security is since almost 20-25 years a big topic, especially on the cyber side here.
Thank you so much and welcome, Max. Edsel, over to you.
Good afternoon, guys. Well, it's afternoon here in the Philippines. Good morning there. Edsel Paglinawan from the Philippines, from Eastern Communications. Eastern Communications is a 140 plus years old company. We're the first company that connected the Philippines to the world. While we've been providing connectivity solutions mainly to the enterprises in the past 3 years, we have so far expanded our portfolio to cover cybersecurity, cloud, locally hosted cloud, also here in the Philippines, and data center colocation and the managed services.
Thank you so much and welcome. And last but not least, Robert.
Yeah, hello everybody. I'm Robert Jenkins from Cloud Sigma. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Cloud Sigma. We're a Swiss company. We were founded in 2009, and we're a cloud service operator. So we operate a network of clouds in partnership with service providers around the world. So we have something like 18 cloud locations now in US, Europe, Middle East, and Asia.
Thank you very much, and happy that you're joining us, Max, Edsel, and Robert, together here with us here on stage in the warm Rome. So next time, come over. All right. So cybersecurity at the forefront. I mean, new challenges, you know, how can operators defend themselves, and where are the main opportunities to improve. So Antonella, if I may start with you, and maybe Maria, you want afterwards, you want to join in. I mean, Sparkle as a global service provider is at the forefront of the evolution in technologies and network architectures, right? So what's your current experience of the security evolution and its key challenges?
Yeah, so I will not repeat the journey about digital transformation. These 2 days, we have heard so much about that. But let me start from what was stated yesterday. That was a bit interesting reflection point. So 2 years ago, when the pandemic started, the industry reacted very fast. And so digitalization got accelerated. And the question is, did security follow with the same pace? And this is the starting point. So we need agility and speed in security, so that all the technology evolutions that we have had in the networking, in the cloud, in digitalization can also be secured. So what we see from an operator perspective, because Sparkle is an operator, so we see security related to the, to the connectivity and all the endpoints, is that there has been a big shift in the security perimeter. So we have moved from a traditional architecture where there was mainly left to right, but pretty static endpoints where traffic entered and exited on a specific location. So it was pretty easy to locate the security borders, right, and checks. So now, if you think, Enrico was mentioning this morning, I like that idea. Now the enterprises comprehend also our houses or whatever device that we want to use for work. So that means that the security perimeter has really changed nature. So now we have endpoints that are mobile, that can be whatever, can be a user, could be a device, if you think to IoT and so on, and mainly can scale up enormously, because then the enterprise, as following Enrico's description, becomes really huge. So if you ask me what are the challenges that we see, so first of all is secure this new perimeter, find a way to secure this new perimeter that is very dynamic, very fluid. And so, I mean, we need the security tools and the procedure that are more fluid as well, that are adaptive. And the second is to keep this security architecture and framework at the right level of cost and complexity, because you can sum up stacks as you want in order to cope with any threat that you have in your network. But here the challenge that we see is to keep the cost down and complexity. And then we can talk about orchestration to make this kind easy, but maybe we have time later on. But for me, these are the key points. And of course, here, innovation is important. This is why, for instance, at Sparkle, we rely on Telsi as our factory for innovation, because we need to monitor the market and we need to test the technologies so that then when they go to the market, they are engineered and they fulfill the requirements that we see.
Okay, so let's see what Maria from Telsi has to say about it, or to add.
About this, with Sparkle, we are investing on an aspect of cybersecurity that is not so known and not so considered, that is the cryptography. Because cryptography is a point very little, but very important in cybersecurity, in the protection of all data of information. And in this time, we are investigating about new technologies, post-quantum technologies, because nowadays the coming of quantum computers, sorry, and the need to have unconditional and secured by design security is protection is very important. So now about innovation, we are working on the so-called quantum key distribution in collaboration with Sparkle and also with the team group. And the idea is to use quantum physics theory in order to solve a mathematical problem. And the problem now is how to distribute the secret about encryption, symmetric key in a secure way. And this mechanism aims to use the principle of transmission of a photon that where an observation of this quantum state perturbs it. And is interesting because if you want to distribute a secret, if you observe that, you are compromising this information, and when to receive it, you can see that the information is compromised. So the challenge that we have in collaboration is that this technology has some limitation about the connectivity, the length of a single connection that grant the correct attenuation of the signal. And what we are doing is to study in order to provide a system from the connectivity with the Sparkle and also the partnership of team group and also university to give this service complete from connectivity to provisioning.
Okay, thank you very much. That's a mouthful, and I hope you all paid attention, ladies and gentlemen, because this is what the future is, and there's a perfect partnership going on between Telsi and Sparkle. So compliments on this one, and keep up the good work. And we want to hear more from this later on. But first to Alessandro. Alessandro, can you, I mean, from a consultancy, from Cambridge consultancy point of view, the current cybersecurity landscape. From your point of view, what are the key drivers and what are the latest development and challenges in cyberland?
Thank you, Eric. I take two key words from your question: landscape and challenges. Landscape is on the newspaper, so I think it's redundant to mention SolarWinds. What happened with SolarWinds? I do suggest we buy a book from Microsoft president, which describes all the SolarWinds case. The attacker were silent with almost 1 year, infecting, the number that I read is 18,000 servers worldwide. This is in the US, but even in Italy, the cybersecurity ransomware attack are not more confined to the expert, but we can find what happened on the cover page of a public newspaper. Landscape. So increasing relevance, challenges, and for challenges, I link what Antonella and Enrico said. From Antonella, I take the perimeter. She's right. The perimeter is enlarging. And from Enrico, I take the word orchestration. So putting together all the different security system, which is plural. I do suggest it's plural. It's not the security system, multiplicity of security system. I take the word orchestration. because of course the SOC guy cannot be flooded by tens, hundreds of alarms. And orchestration means with the famous acronym security automation orchestration response, SOAR, the so-called SOAR, which is a relatively new branch of security, which can be considered an extension of the much more well-known CM. I'm sorry if I have to use these acronyms. CM stands for Security Information Event Management. And the basic difference between CM and SOAR is that with SOAR, the vendors include the threat intelligence. So not only automate, not only orchestrate, not only incident response, but also threat intelligence. And all this process in order to allow the SOC person, which is a human being, not to be flooded by hundreds, and especially for the phishing case where a repetitive, iterative process to be carried out, but also to support the SOC in mitigating and possibly stopping the threat. My only last comment is on the vendors. We can divide the SOAR vendors in two categories. There are the vendors who provide SOAR as, let's say, an additional component of their own platforms. And there are the broad SOAR vendors, so companies funded fully for SOAR. It's not an additional component. It's a broad, with a broad scope. And I like to close with one remark. If the SOAR platform has to orchestrate, it's a must to have a very flexible APIs. Otherwise, this machine stands in the desert alone. This means for the Chief Information Security Officer, for the CTO, the first task is to check and to be aware of what is available inside, so that the system to be orchestrated, how flexible they are, and the SOAR platform to be possibly purchased and put in operation. So there are other information.
Okay, thank you so much. Robert, from your point of view, how can you characterize the landscape? What do you see?
Sure, thank you. Yeah, so we heard about the kind of increasing complexity of company infrastructure, and this is definitely true. I don't think you can talk so much about a perimeter anymore, because when half of your employees are working from home on their own devices and your infrastructure is maybe spread across multiple cloud vendors and your own in-house infrastructure, and you start to use Edge and you bring that in, it starts to become, where is the perimeter there? So this is kind of what we're seeing. So you have this kind of diversity of infrastructure in customers' deployments. And so this traditional sort of perimeter-based approach is much harder to effectively implement, basically. So when you have a moving environment, it's also more dynamic. So it's also changing faster. So it's not just that it's complex, it's also complex and changing. What we see is customers taking more of a sort of like using tools that are more regarding fingerprinting behavior and those kind of things, rather than a rules-based approach to security. So these kind of tools become much more popular for customers. And so the result of that is also that most customers that we see in our clouds, they don't have a single vendor approach, but they're usually working with independent consulting companies for security who are actually building multiple vendors into their solution so that they're able, based on their particular requirements. So actually, a holistic approach is needed to security in reality, in my opinion. And so you need somebody that can actually look at the overall picture of what you need as a company and then bring together best of breed solutions in the different areas where you have a requirement. And this is what the kind of direction that we see customers moving in. And then lastly, for ourselves as a cloud vendor, where do we come in? I see our role as, so for me, convenience drives usage, right? When something's not convenient, people try and avoid using it. So in general, it's often the case that more secure things tend to be more of a pain in terms of usage, so, or harder to set up. So as a cloud vendor, we see our role as trying to democratize security tools and setup. So the easier we make it to integrate security tools into customers' cloud computing, the more likely they are to be able to actually deploy those solutions, the more likely they are to use them and also set them up correctly. So as a cloud vendor, we see our role in all of this as basically democratizing access to various security solutions that would be very complex to set up, or even more expensive to set up if they had to do it as a single entity. But as a cloud, we can build solutions, spread the cost across hundreds or thousands of users, and then offer that as a service at a very modest monthly fee, which is actually much cheaper than if they had to do it themselves. So this is one of the advantages of cloud. This is my little sales pitch, is that you can actually get access to a lot of security solutions at a relatively modest cost, and in a way that's much more accessible than if you had to build all of your own things in your own kind of sort of silo. So this is where we see the things moving, and vendors such as ourselves to do that. And then it's a whole other story when you're talking about protecting the infrastructure ourselves from attack, which is another sphere in terms of DDoS and mitigation and things like that, which we also have to deal with. But I'm kind of talking more according to your question, which is relation to the customer behavior and how they're building their security.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Robert. Talking about DDoS and DDoS attacks, Max, where do you see the challenges? What do you see around you?
Yeah, so what we see, especially if looking at from a carrier and an operator point of view, is we are basically the driver of today's world, because we provide the infrastructure that we all rely on these days, especially. We wouldn't be able to meet each other without the internet today, for example. And looking at it a cybersecurity perspective, I always like to refer to the magic triangle, the CIA, the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And we had it a couple of minutes earlier, a lot of these confidentiality and integrity things by encrypting things and endpoint security and those kind of things. But our main job is to ensure the availability, that the internet and which means the interconnectivity of multiple thousands of networks is available at any point in time and is not disrupted, let's say, by a congestion caused by a DDoS attack or a DNS name server attack or any kind of BGP event such as BGP hijacking or so. So I see still, even though it's a pretty old topic, but ensuring the availability from a carrier point of view is the key to all these solutions that are state of the art. Because what happens to a cloud, which is fabulous, if you as a company cannot access it because you or maybe your internet provider having trouble to open up the connection, due to a DDoS attack, due to a name server attack, and those kind of things. So protecting the infrastructure itself is a huge topic these days, and ensuring that in the long run and in the mid run, even though it's a pretty old topic, but I still see this is very much up to date. And for companies, their networks getting more and more complex, because in the past, the internet was not that important for many companies that it is today, because, for example, they had like MPLS solutions to do, or cross connect, for example, to ensure the connectivity between several branches. Now they use SD-WAN and they use SASE solutions to do that. And all this comes to the effect that the availability of the internet is so, and excuse my word here, so damn important that without internet connectivity, everybody would run into trouble these days. And internet connectivity means the availability of every IP address, every point in time, which is hard work for operators these days. And to build in their security by design, that's the key challenges we are all facing today.
Thank you, Max. Edsel, from your point of view, the landscape, last but not least, please do.
Yeah, I would like to complement the statements of both Max and Robert earlier from the perspective of operator as an operator protecting our own network and also creating the solutions for our customer for our cybersecurity products. Yeah, it's an old topic about the DDoS protection, but that is actually one thing that is really haunting us as well. Not only my company, but many companies here in the Philippines, especially during the pandemic days. Philippines is one of the few countries where we consider to be the gaming capital of the world as well, with the e-gaming happening and one company attacking the other company in terms of volumetric attacks. And some of them are also, using multiple connectivities from us or from any other telcos. Now, Philippines being isolated from, we're an archipelago, and we're using the wet segments connecting to the rest of the world. The capacity of the internet may not be very that big in order to, to protect ourselves from volumetric attacks. And that's the reason why it's very important to do the global offloading also of those attacks to some of the, scrubbing centers outside the Philippines. And one of the challenges, for example, is even if we're able to offer the DDoS protection to one of our customers, if the volume is so high enough that if we're even able to, to mitigate the attack to one subscriber, our upstream would suffer already. Okay, and that's by design. Our DDoS protection by design is that the local scrubbing in the closest scrubbing center to the Philippines, let's say that's in Singapore or in Hong Kong, must really be in place before the clean traffic is pretty fast to the Philippines. That is part of our DDoS protection of our network. And that's also what we see, the DDoS attacks to our customers. But not only that, as far as the landscape and protecting our customers as well, still includes protection of their infrastructure, protection of their internet investment with anti-DDoS protection, protection of their data, protection of the endpoints as well. And to complement what Robert mentioned earlier also about the democratization of cybersecurity. In fact, that is our aggressive campaign for Eastern here in the Philippines, because, well, we mentioned about the SIEM earlier. You mentioned about the gentleman in Rome now, forgot his name, mentioned about the SOAR and the SIEM as well, right? And a lot of companies would love to have that, even in our conversations with our customers in banking. Imagine they already have the money, they already have the budget, but before we were able to offer this kind of solution, they were even able to, considering of joining forces and building one engine SIEM, and they will just get it SIEM as a service from one company, so that not everybody will have to build their own security operations center. Now, that democratization thing is a very, as I mentioned, that's very aggressive campaign that we're doing today, which is cloud-based, so that not just the big enterprises who have the capacity to pay, but even the small and medium enterprises who would want to protect their network, as we see that in the statistics that around 70% are being attacked belongs to the SME business, but they don't have that much capability to build their own and even to develop their own competencies and address the attrition, for example, especially the problem we have in our country. So this SIEM as a service, firewall as a service, and all of this stuff hosted in the cloud is something that we are powerfully, I should say, offering in the market today. So just imagine small and medium business and enterprises being able to protect themselves using this democratized cybersecurity in the cloud.
Thank you so much, and thank you all for let's say your opening statement, how the landscape looks and what you're all seeing. Now, Maria, I mean, we're talking about, let's say, let's move now to the operators level, and the current main challenges for the operators to defend their infrastructure services. How do you see that? I mean, the security measures is all about protecting the assets. What's your take on that?
Yes, I think that cybersecurity is puts many aspects. One is governance for the strategy. One is the protection of infrastructure. The other one is the monitoring. We talk about SOC, CM, and one other aspect is the use of devices, security target for the protection of the information. So we have many aspects, but one that I think is very important is the protection of the transport layer. We talked before about DDoS attack. We can mention many the middle. So about the security, we can think to use high-speed devices that we can use to protect, cipher, encrypt, authenticate the channel at, for instance, IP level. So in Telsey, we have a deep experience about this technology. We use also standard technology, but we can use also proprietary technology. Telsey has, we have a deep experience. We arrive from institutional and military world, and we can use this experience in order to secure transport layer. And the challenge here is to arrive in synergy with all the telco companies, all the with our partnership with Sparkle, is in order to improve the team of transport layer protection, and also in national and international environment. So this is our point of view, and I think that also Antonella, that has more deep experience in infrastructure, can give his point of view.
Well, please.
So thanks, Maria. So as Sparkle, I mean, it's generalized. Okay, I start from the experience from Sparkle, and what we see two types of attacks. One on our assets, our network, and you can imagine why, so much traffic, 7.6 terabit on one night. And then there is the indirect attacks to our customers. So what we are doing to protect that? First of all, let me say, we are following the guidelines that are called the 7 imperatives from CARTA by Gartner. And CARTA stands for Continuous Adaptive Threat and Risk Assessment. And it's a set of rules or guidelines, indeed, that helps any organization to establish a safe environment. And it is not about only technology, use good tools and apply properly, but also to set up a good structure, a good governance, and good processes to apply that on time. So we are really following these guidelines. And we have, for instance, a SOC that is working very closely to NOC. Because we stated yesterday, and we are repeating, the need is to add the security much closer to the network. So I heard several times during this speech about security by design. So security must be part of the network, but also the protection must be part of that. So SOC and NOC are working very well together. And then we are established with this framework so that we can continuously monitor the network and the endpoints, not just as in traditional networks where you are just some access management at a certain point, and that's all. Now, once a user, a device has entered the network, it has to be monitored until the session is over, otherwise it could be risky. The innovation is also from the product perspective, because, and here the product management comes into the picture, because we have established a process according to which when a product, a security product, security service for our customers is put on the market, during the life cycle of the product, from the very beginning idea to the go-to-market, the security department is one of the major stakeholders in designing the solution, in testing the solution. And this gives a lot of advantages when the product is on the market, because we are aware of the threats or risk about that product. We make our customer aware with all the explanation, documentation about that. And this is important. And then my last point is that in Sparkle, the SOC is not a cost center. And here is really the big shift from the past. Security has always been a burden, right? In some cases, very useful, but still a burden. In Sparkle, we made SOC as our jewel, an investment, an innovation center, where we replicate, we simulate, we replicate, and then we go to market with that. And I think this can make the difference from an operator point of view.
Okay, thank you, Antonella. So just quickly shifting, because I want to cover, let's say, the most important parts, and also for everybody here at the panel. We're just talking about the challenges. So let's move now to the opportunities. And again, I come back to you, and then please, if Alessandro, if you want to join, and also the guys. The main opportunities for the operators to improve or to develop focused propositions to provide, to be provided to the customers. So we know the security market is booming. We see this, we know this, and it's all around us. And it's evident from any report or security that threatens. So what do you expect it will trigger in terms of new products and service offering? And maybe Antonella, you want to start?
Very fast.
Yeah.
So if I have two things, I will highlight three things. First of all, for operators like us, is guiding our customers through the journey. So is really being a partner with them. And second is awareness, because awareness is the starting point where you start defeating the threats. And we have a very important awareness program for our customers and for our organization. Third is working with analytics. I think Alessandro already covered, there have been few. So we have data as operators, we have tons of data, and this is an asset. And we are providing them, we use them to provide our customers an added value so that we can be really a trusted partners. Yesterday, we mentioned trusted nodes, trusted. So being a trusted partner is an opportunity for operators like Sparkle.
Okay, thank you, Maria.
Yes. I think that talking about the security, I expect that the growing of security culture, because is a human before, and then a company topic. When we talk about security culture, security by design, for instance, we have to take in consideration that to secure data, infrastructure, network, we have to think prevention, protection, detection, decision making. We have to think to have also a system that can improve our decision making and control. Control is one of the thing that we forget, but control is one of the most important thing, because if we have not control of our infrastructure solution, the cloud, for instance, there is no the trust from our customer, for instance. So I expect that for the next years, there will be more awareness, like Antonella says, and more collaboration between all the stakeholder of a communication system, because it's not only carrier provider, but is also service provider, is also security provider.
Exactly.
So
Thank you, Maria. Alessandro, you want to add something, especially on the opportunity side?
Thank you. Only one second to say that even if we never talked before with Antonella, she said to us the key word which was in my mind, awareness. We never talked. I met her for the first time, but the awareness is the keywords. Awareness in the service provider. What do I have? What I can do? What I can offer? And of course, it's clear that in terms of security, the service provider has a twofold role. On the one hand, he's a customer because he has to protect the network. On the other hand, he's a provider. And of course, all the discussion we said in terms of, let me use the neutral term, cooperation between SOC and network, that's fine, but it's clear that the HR officer should change their mind, because the most important, let's say, stop for SOAR or for SASE, secure access, is also the organization. Because today, as of today, there is the network and there is the security. And this is a challenge also for the HR, the processes awareness. Looking ahead, an opportunity, which is could be also a revolution, is the secure access, another acronym, the secure access service edge. This acronym has been launched 2 years ago by Gartner in a quite quoted report. And there is a boom, is another buzzword. There is a market which is raising at a very, very high rate. And what is SASE? In very, very few, because very few words, is the merging of the SD-WAN concept together with the security function in the cloud. So this means merging firewall as a service, merging CASB. I don't want to shoot acronym one by the other. Is the CASB, Cloud Access Security Broker. Grazie, Daniele. Thank you, Daniele. The firewall, then there's another acronym, the Zero Trust Network Access, But all these functions, all these activity has to be managed properly. And SASE means also, from the service perspective, from the revenues perspective, the MPLS decommissioning. And also means could imply a different role between the very well-known stakeholder. In the old days, there was the service, the vendor, the equipment vendor, the service provider, the customer. The equipment vendor used to provide us boxes, then software and the services. The service provider, the vendor provider could provide, and there are cases, directly the service to the final customer. So the security, the prospect of security could open different horizons in front of us, where some very well-known paradigm could be changed.
Thank you so much. So going to the guys, and if I may ask you, because we're looking at the time and the pressure we have from the lunch here, is quickly, and Robert, maybe I can start with you. Where do you see the opportunities?
Well, I think that the opportunities in cloud and in security. So what we do is we work with service providers around the world to enable them to offer cloud services more cost effectively. So obviously cloud is a huge growth area. And so that's a major opportunity. And it actually links in with the security, because if you want to start offering security services, often you need a cloud to be able to deliver them to customers as well. Or at least if you have a cloud, it's a lot easier to start using that platform as part of the security services you want to offer. So I would say that having a coherent cloud strategy is can be helpful to also offering those security services to customers, and then having a cloud partner that's then got a clear security services strategy in terms of how they're incorporating security services over time is critical, because absolutely an increasing percentage of customers' budget is being spent on security. So, I mean, like if you look at the amount they spend on infrastructure and then you look at the amount they spend on security, in some cases, the cost of their security is just as expensive as their infrastructure, even more. So if you're not involved in the security piece, then you're missing out on a lot of potential revenue. So it's a natural fit to be able to do that. So I would say that if you want to win part of the security, then it's also good to have a clear cloud infrastructure strategy as well. Because if you have an effective cloud infrastructure strategy and you're competing in that market effectively, then you're also able to very easily roll out security services over time into your customer base. And this is certainly what we see also with our service provider partners around the world. They use the cloud platform as a base for other security services on top of it. And so I would say that that's a significant opportunity for sure.
Okay, thank you so much. Edsel, for you, what's next? What's out there? We are talking about the cybersecurity at the forefront. So what's there to expect?
I totally agree with Robert. We're using Cloud Sigma's platform in our own cloud, and we're using that as a baseline, or I say the platform in offering the democratized cybersecurity services, firewall as a service, SIEM as a service, and also another opportunity is really capitalizing on the new architecture of networking in a cloud. Alessandro mentioned earlier already about the SASE. SASE is the big thing, or SASE is one of the most in thing in the Philippines, and also our aggressive campaign. In fact, the campaign boils down on, we call it as the value-based argumentation. How are we able to support our customers, not only modernize their network, but also be able to save money from connectivity, let's say MPLS or expensive DIA, and simply replace that by inexpensive broadband with an overlay of security, firewall as a service, ZTNA, CASB, etc. But aside from that, especially for the multinational companies having offices outside the Philippines, or those offices having connectivity to the cloud somewhere else, let's say any other public cloud other than our public cloud outside the Philippines, or connecting their teleworkers from their individual homes, connecting to their tools, probably located in any other public cloud also outside the Philippines. That is one of the gist of our SASE offering here. So you have the networking in the cloud, you have the security in the cloud, packaged with the global network backbone, okay, that provides connectivity from the Philippines to anywhere you are across the world. So whether you are in Singapore cloud, Hong Kong cloud, US cloud, Europe cloud, we have these POPs all over the world with 65 POPs. And that's actually the essence of our networking in the cloud, security in the cloud together with a global backbone. So bringing the branches, bringing the teleworkers closer to where the cloud resources are in a more secure fashion.
Thank you. Max, what's your outlook?
Well, we always sell to our customers what we use ourselves or for ourselves. And this is especially valid for security. Yeah, whenever we deploy something, we try to also look at it if it's necessary for our customers and is a product for that, or if we need to implement something in our network, we also look if we can leverage that also for our customers. And this is an interesting topic when it comes also to cloud, because customers don't like on-premise equipment any longer in many cases. So they prefer to have a firewall in the cloud rather than on-premise, for example. And what we've deployed also is those security solutions, such as firewall, such as DDoS mitigation, within our network. So from the customer perspective, it's before their internet access and therefore somehow in the cloud, but it's not in a separate autonomous system. It's deployed in the Deutsche Telekom network, which is trustworthy by design for the customers. So those kind of ideas are very much appreciated by our customers and are a huge opportunity, as we are one of the first touch points with our customers when it comes to security and also digitalization.
Thank you so much, Max. And Antonella, if I may ask you, as a closing statement, what do you see coming? What is ahead of us? And maybe how can Sparkle grab these opportunities and be ready for it?
Yeah. So I will repeat the SASE because it's over there. Gartner shows it as a technology in the next 2 years, but we are there in terms of implementation and so on. And I repeat again, I see orchestration and artificial intelligence, machine learning, because time to reaction is vital in security. So it is a human force enhancement using artificial intelligence and automation in order to simplify and speed up the activities. So I think these are the two major threats. And this is where Sparkle is today.
Okay, fantastic. You want to add something to it, Maria?
Yes, I want to mention the innovation about the research about cryptography. I want to mention the innovation about the research of integrated systems, a platform, because we have many platform about, for instance, threat intelligence, SOC, NOC, and I expect that there will be an integrated solution that is like unique scheme that can allow us to take a strategic decision. So that's all.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we really need to stop. I mean, and I'll promise you, we'll be on a panel again, not in the coming days, but in the coming months, and discuss this topic, because it is so much to talk about and so many new things which are around. So with this, I would like to thank, first of all, the audience here in the beautiful city of Rome, still beautiful, and will remain for another 3,000 years beautiful. And the guys out there, of course, for the audience, thank you. I would like to thank Robert, Edsel, and of course, Max, as always. Thank you so much. Alessandro, thank you so much for giving the overview and putting our nose in there. So thank you so much. Maria, of course, and Antonella Sparkle. Thank you so much. We go for lunch, as we mentioned. And I wish you all the best, and thank you so much, and stay tuned. Thank you.